Hi everyone, we're at AI Engineers and I'm joined today by Kyle from Depot. Hey Kyle.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. This is quite the event. I think this is the first one in Europe, and
Yes, well, I think there was a kind of
there's one
related
in
one
like
in
Paris.
Paris, yeah, in your neck of the woods.
Mm.
Um, so what are you excited about at the moment? What's
Yeah. So we just released Depot CI. I think that was 2 weeks ago, and the response has been off the charts. Everybody's moving their GitHub Actions workflows over to Depot CI. So Depot CI is our own CI engine that we've built from the ground up. Really, it's like the CI engine we've wanted from the very beginning. And the best way to think about it is it supports different languages effectively. So the first syntax it speaks is GitHub Actions, obviously, because that's what we're most familiar with nowadays. But like we're building our own SDK for it, so that you'll be able to like write your own TypeScript code or Python code to like orchestrate your pipelines. The entire system is built on top of our own sandbox tech, and we're working on like exposing the lower level details of that. Um, but yeah, really like being here at this conference and kind of like seeing the current state of coding agents, and really we've made this like step function leap in what agents can do, and we're starting to think a lot more about like what's the new paradigm for how engineers and agents need to collaborate, and like what's the right tools and right infrastructure components that we need to do that at scale.
yeah. And I've seen you guys getting a lot of attention. I was watching one of Theo's videos that was like that Sunil shared, and I was watching it and then I see
Yeah,
like you guys popped up as well.
yeah, yeah. We're definitely. It's wild to like be in this place now, like 3 years later, and be like I was just at a conference. I was at KubeCon back in Amsterdam, and I think 100 people like walked up to me and were like, "Oh yeah, like I've heard of Debug from like this thing or that thing or this other thing, or like I've seen your stuff on Twitter or I've seen your stuff on LinkedIn." Yeah, to like go through that journey as a startup and be at that state now with Depot is was wild for sure.
Yeah. One of the things I really wanted to ask you, because I think with Depot, you have like, I think you have a really like strong view into people's development flow and like what they're actually doing, how they're building things. Um, what, things are changing a lot. What are you seeing in like the way people are changing, how they write code and how they deploy it? And
Yeah, I think it's kind of like saying water is wet in 2026, but like Depot's growth rate has more than doubled in the past 3 months.
that, to be clear, that's growth rate has
Yeah,
doubled. So
that's the
if
growth
you were
rate.
growing, I'm making these numbers up. If you were growing at 10%, you're now growing at 20%.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
And that's across everything. So that's across revenue, that's across product usage. I was just in a meeting this week here in London where somebody was asking me like how much of that can be attributed to like AI and agents. And then our response was like literally all of it. And like the explosion of code is real. It is happening. And we're seeing it across all Depot customers. Like everybody is facing what has like always been the bottleneck, which is like really all of your infrastructure tools. So like source control, CI/CD, like tests, pull requests, like all of those things have always been a bottleneck in various different ways. And now they're just like crumbling under this new load, right? Where it's like, what do we do when there's 10,000 agents on a 10-person engineering team producing like 10x the amount of code that now needs to be reviewed? What do we do when there's like 10x the amount of code like flowing into source control and GitHub is struggling to keep 1.9 of reliability, right? And all of these things are like ripe for disruption. Like, how do you handle this new world? And nobody has the answer, by the way. Like, I don't have the answer. GitHub doesn't have the answer. Git Butler doesn't have the answer. Like, everybody's trying to figure this out. But it's very clear that like the volume of code has turned up exponentially. And we're trying to figure out like how do we manage the quality of it? Like, how do we build solid infrastructure primitives like source control underneath? and CI, CD providers that can really like support that load at scale.
Interesting. Okay. And then how do you think, like, what's going wrong for developers now and what needs to go right?
I think what's going wrong for developers right now is just really like the tools and systems that we've been using for the past 20 years aren't built for this new world that we're living in. Either like the fundamental like collaboration paradigm is like wrong with them because they were built around this concept of a human needs to be involved at every step. And that's just simply not true anymore. To like the actual tools themselves can't handle this new load. Like they are literally falling over um, daily, as we said today. And we need better tools. We need better primitives. We need a different paradigm. And that's what we see with Depot. That's why so many people were hungry to like switch to Depot CI, is because the existing status quo around GitHub Actions, even with Depot's own GitHub Action runners, like we only owned like 30% of the pipeline with those runners, right? Like 70% is still with GitHub. And so there's only so much we could do to like accelerate that and like make that stable. And bringing Depot CI online is really like us taking over 100% of the pipeline. So like now it's our engine, it's our control plane, it's everything. And people want that. People want like reliable tools. They want reliable infrastructure that can also like serve not only their engineering team, but like all of the agents that are spinning up locally or inside of cloud environments and stuff like that.
Okay. And what are you excited about for the future of Deco?
We're working on a lot of cool stuff. I think Devo CI is definitely in its early days. There's a lot of things that we want to add to that. We definitely want to explore like how can we do more things open source. So this idea of like Devo CI can support different syntaxes. Like how can we make that a pluggable system that's open source so that if you want to bring Circle CI pipelines, or you want to bring your Jenkins pipelines or things like that, like how can Devo CI support that in a community-led way? Also, like where can we go beyond this, right? How can we offer like the depot level of infrastructure performance all the way down to the source control layer? And so for us, like we're thinking a lot about source control, CI/CD, obviously with Depot CI, code review, but ultimately, like what is that collaboration paradigm that we need for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years for a world where a team of 5 engineers is operating like a team of 500 engineers once you like augment them with agents at their side as well.
Okay. Amazing. One last side question. You're from the States originally, living in France. We're here in London for Air Engineer Europe. What are you making of like the European tech scene and the differences, the strengths, the weaknesses?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I get that question fairly frequently as an expat living in France. The best way I can answer it is really like London feels like a hub for tech. I would say France less so. That especially in the south of France. South of France is its own culture, its own speed. Sometimes there's some friction there for me personally of like I don't I don't like that slowness. But every time I come up here to London, it's like, yeah, this feels like a hub. And I think part of that is like historically it's like been a financial hub as well. And so uh, that's carrying over into like becoming a tech hub as well. But like I've also been to Berlin and Barcelona and things like that, and Amsterdam recently as well. And those places feel like hubs as well. Like it feels like there's something rising up here in Europe, and I think like it was presented maybe in today's keynote or yesterday's keynote of like no like all of this like AI research and all of the like advancements we're making with LLMs is coming out of like research that's happening here, right? It's happening in Berlin, it's happening in London, it's happening really like all across the EU and the UK. that really feels like you're living in something it's gaining ground, it's gaining traction. Sure, it might not like be 100% like San Francisco, but San Francisco has its own hub of things that they're focused on, and it also has its own downsides as well. And so I think it's an exciting time to be living over here and like still be living in this world of new technology.
Yeah, amazing. Where do you want to send people?
Yeah, I mean, like, go check out devo.dev. Obviously, I'm on Twitter as well, or X or whatever they call it nowadays. Just Kyle Galbraith, and yeah, check us out.
Amazing. Cool. Thanks, Carl.
Awesome, thank you.